Hey, what's up, you guys? I wanted to share this dream real quick with you guys. I was in this warehouse with a bunch of people, and I was sitting next to this African American girl, and it was like the guy was also African American, and he was teaching us something. He was teaching us math, and he was teaching us like carpentry. He was teaching us carpentry measurements. He was teaching us if you take so many pieces of lumber off of the wall of the warehouse, then there's so many more pieces that you have to put back on. Now that I really think about it, that kind of makes sense. If you think about it, Jesus being a carpenter, I'm thinking about what that could mean. I literally just woke up from this dream like maybe 10 minutes ago. There's some significance of what that means. Maybe the more you take away, the more you're gonna have to put back. The harder it's gonna be. I don't know. But anyway, the whole time that he was trying to explain the formula, the math formula of taking so many pieces off the wall of the warehouse, is how many new pieces we're going to have to put on to fix it. The girl next to me, African American girl, was just acting like a spoiled little brat. She was just like, this doesn't make sense, and this formula is so stupid, and something about this doesn't make sense, this formula is so stupid, and if this was the correct formula, then you wouldn't have to put more pieces on than you took off, and blah, 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 blah. And I kept telling her, I was like, shut up. I'm trying to learn something here. Shut up. And then she would tell me to shut up. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I would just sigh and shake my head. And she'd continue to whine and moan and groan and yell and gripe. And eventually the teacher had just got fed up. And he started writing on the board, aisle 62, aisle 32, aisle, all these different aisles. The only one I know for sure that he wrote on there was 62. I think 32 or 30 something was another one of them. And he said everybody and anybody can, something about going to those aisles, because nobody really wanted to learn the formula. So he was like, okay, fine, obviously they're not listening, so I'm just going to have them go to these aisles, because I guess the other thing he had to do that day, other than teach us this formula, was to get supplies for the class and stuff, like notebook paper and pencils and binders and stuff like that. So he had us go into a competition in the warehouse and go to the aisles that he wrote down on the chalkboard, and everybody jumped up and grabbed a shopping cart, and everybody started running around going to the aisles that he wrote down, trying to guess what he wanted out of the aisles. And people are grabbing, notebook paper and binders and pencils, and that was the name of the game, was to go down the specific aisles that he wrote on the chalkboard and guess what he needed, and whoever guessed the right amount of supplies that he needed won the challenge. So I remember I was running around trying to do the same thing that they were. And then eventually I noticed this guy, and he walked into the bathroom. And I remember, because he wasn't part of the class, I was like, what's up with this guy? Like, why is he here? What is he doing here? And he walked to the bathroom, and I remember nobody else really recognized that this guy was out of place, that this guy wasn't in the classroom, and everybody was scrummaging around trying to guess what was what, and stealing out of other people's baskets and trying to get what the teacher wanted to try to win the challenge. And this guy goes to the bathroom, and he kind of just disappears into the bathroom hallway. And I remember following him, and I'm like, I just kind of left my basket in one of the aisles, and I followed him to the bathroom, and he just kind of disappeared in the hallway. And as he disappeared, I looked over, and there was this red Bible sitting there. And I remember thinking to myself, out of all the things I could give the teacher, this would be the best thing I could give him, would be this Bible. And so I picked up the Bible, and everybody was meeting in this different part of the warehouse, and everybody had their carts and everything, and I walk up to him, and he's counting the stuff that they have in their baskets, and he's tallying up the scores. And as I walk up, the teacher kind of looks at me like, where have you been? And I give him the Bible, and I can't even remember exactly what he said, but he seemed shocked and touched that I gave him a Bible. I don't know if it was his grandpa's Bible or his old Bible or what, but he was really, really impressed and really touched, and I could tell he was almost gonna cry about it. And I remember opening it, and we all sat down and we all read verses out of it. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the verse that I read. It's gonna bother me that I can't remember what verse I read. I can't remember. I don't know, maybe something about the will of God. Literally, Sorry, a bird just flew by the window as I said that. It was something about the will of God. Hold on, let me get my dog in real quick. Scout! Scout! Come on, little dingo pup. I can't remember the Bible verse. That's gonna drive me nuts. Anyway, I guess it was something about the will of God that I read. But anyway, we all read a Bible verse. And I remember everybody was just like, wow, like, this is so much more than anything we found for the teacher. And everybody was just like baffled and shocked. And I remember the teacher told me something about that Bible. And I like just fell to my knees and I started thanking God and crying. And like, there was a piece of paper in the middle of the Bible, and I didn't get to see what that piece of paper, like it's a piece of notebook paper. I think whatever that piece of notebook paper had some significance to the teacher. And he's all like, oh my God, how did you find this? And it was either his or his grandfather's. And he was just like, wow, this is the best thing ever. And he told me something about God, and I just remember crying and falling to my knees and crying, and we all read a Bible verse out of it. Man, I wish I knew what Bible verse I read. But anyway, I think the main thing about the dream that I got out of it anyway was, that's why I like sharing the dream, because some people will say, well, this part of the dream could have meant this and that, and sometimes I look back on it and I'm like, yeah, that could have really been it. But from what I remember when I woke up, the main significant part of it is that we can rush around and try to get all this materialistic stuff, and we can try to teach all this materialistic stuff and math and all this stuff, and it really doesn't amount to much. But teaching the gospel and reading the Bible together and learning the Bible together means so much more. And that learning that should be our number one thing in life. Learning the Bible and being closer to Jesus, Yeshua, should be more important than running around trying to get all this materialistic stuff. So anyway, that was my dream, and I really wish I would have remembered what Bible verse it was. Maybe I'll remember later. Anyway, love and peace, you guys.